Hey guys, welcome to the latest episode of Beyond the Tape, a podcast where we chat to people doing rad things within the industry. For this one, we've gone with someone that's really behind the scenes, someone that's been around for 20 years in the bike industry, done everything from mechanicking, wrenching, brand management, warranty, and even helping out some of the pros. Before I reveal who that is, let's mention a few of our sponsors. Canyon have been a huge supporter for 2021. Without those guys, this podcast probably wouldn't be running. I just got back from a ride on that bike and absolutely loving it. Still can't believe how good that thing is. Go and check out their full range because they're one of the only companies that has a full range of road bikes, hardtails, gravel bikes, kids bikes. They've got a full range of everything and all their support is in Australia. So if you have any issues you're dealing with people in Melbourne, the guys at NSDynamics have been keeping my suspension running for a couple of years now. Just had a mate actually get his suspension serviced by them as well. Even though I'm down here in SA and so is my mate, we managed to send them off, get them to the guys in Queensland. They worked their magic. The shocks and forks were back within the week. So the guy didn't even miss out on a weekend of riding. And he is absolutely loving it. They have transformed his ZEBs and man, they're running better than you. So if you want your suspension working well, hit up NSDynamics and mention the podcast so they know that you've come from here. FE Sports have jumped on from the middle of this year. Those guys are killing it with all of their high-end, they're the number one distributor for really quality products here in Australia, especially when it comes to clothing and hard goods. Been loving the Altus helmet. It is killer from 100%. That thing, for the money, is one of the most comfortable helmets that I've ever worn. They don't do any hubs or any wheels, but thankfully To Up Bike Co do. Those Factor hubs are amazing. Man, they sound so good. Those laced up to the Noble wheels, I challenge you to find a better wheel set. Super compliant front. The rear carbon rim from Noble has a thicker bead interface, I guess is the best way to put it, so that you reduce pinch flats on the rear. They're very compliant and they track the ground amazingly. So if you're looking for some of the best wheels in the game, hit up To Up Bike Co and they will get you sorted. Don't forget to use Beyond the Tape and let them know that you've come through from here. Received a fresh pair of shorts and a fresh pair of pants from Frank the other day. With my drumstick legs, it's very hard for me to find a good fit, but thankfully the stretch and comfort of the Frank shorts, I've never felt more comfortable pedaling a bike. They allow me to move around on the saddle, they allow me to move around when riding, and honestly, it just feels the best. They're quite lightweight, so you don't really notice them. Really excited and happy to be wearing their kit. Don't forget to use Beyond Tape, get a discount, and those guys will sort you out and get you some really cool stuff for not crazy prices. Dirt Surfer, keeping the mud out of my face. If you want a custom graphic done, made of 100% recyclable material, and it's made of recycled material, their carbon footprint is next to none. They will be able to sort your shop out, your club out, or even if they did some custom race plates and stuff, they'll be able to get something sorted so that you can have custom mudder guards one-off to you. Crush has been keeping my bike clean, and man, I can't use anything else. I mean, you can see Dean Lucas has been using the chain cleaner in his hair and it's gone green, but he's still healthy. So that's because they use quality ingredients for all their for all their cleaning products, and all biodegradable. Love their stuff. Works really well too. If you haven't seen already, you must have been under a rock because Fist Handwear have just released Chapter 16. I don't know where they get these ideas from, but they kill it every time. Again, jump over there, have a look at their new Chapter 16 gloves because they're killing it. Only gloves I want to wear, to be honest. I hate gloves except for these. Anyway, let's move on to Phil Wood, one of Australia's kind of man behind the scenes. He's worked for some big companies like SRAM, Mavic, and now Bosch. He has wrenched, he's been a brand manager, he's been all over the world helping with warranty departments, and his insight to the industry is amazing. He's known pretty much everyone since they were young. He's watched people grow up from Groms to world champions. So this is a really good episode. Hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed it talking to him. Grab a beer, grab a water, grab a wine. Longest intro ever. Sorry about that. Grab whatever makes you happy and enjoy the episode. Mountain bike ride, I'm like, I don't remember it being this hard to like just go for a ride. You just pack all your shit up and go for a drive, unpack all your shit. And yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why enduro bikes are so damn good. You go downhilling, you go downhilling on a Saturday and do shuttles, and you're like, cool, I just drove 2 hours. I've ridden a total of 35 minutes. I've done, 6-7 runs, and I've done 35 minutes.
Yeah.
And you go, all right, I'll go for a cross country ride. I've done 2 hours and I'm hurting. And it's awesome. And I can go from home. And then, I get it. I think the next thing's running, but no thanks. No one's chasing me, so I'm good. So
that's a great motto. There's no one chasing me, so I'm not going to run. Easy, man. Let's jump into it and get
awesome,
going.
buddy. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. I'm excited. It's been good to chat over Instagram and do all those things for a while. So
it's good that it's come together. So I'm happy to be here and maybe share some of my story, I guess, and maybe it might inspire the next person to give the industry a shot. So, or not. So
might scare some people away.
Be a plumber, be a carpenter.
No, don't be a plumber. Don't do it to yourself. So welcome to the podcast. We'll do it officially and welcome you. But to those who know you, you're one of the people that's done probably the most in the industry. You've worked in shops, worked with yourself, worked with distributors and done everything else. But do you want to just give us a brief history to who you are and what you do in the industry?
Yeah, so my name is Phillip Wood, or Phil Wood. Coming up to nearly 20 years in the cycling industry, I guess. What you said, I've done all facets of it. I'm pretty much, this is Beyond the Tape podcast. I'm probably definitely behind the scenes podcast. Big part of my career was always in wholesale for some of the brands. And if you've probably ever done a pro deal through a shop or wanted a discount on a fork, or, got your local bunch of good dudes who wanted a deal, like your name probably came across my desk, or your shop hit me up for a deal, or and done that. And the other side of it is, if you've ever had a warranty problem, I've probably been involved in it too. So I can say I've sort of been, that's my main part of it, and been doing it for a long time and tried doing something else, but I love it. So what's my history of the industry, I guess? Like most kids, started out 17, 18 in a bike shop. Was like doing some racing and riding. Decided that I'll do a uni degree of all things, and did that, and finished my qualification doing a business management degree. And I was pretty lucky. Like the shop that I worked at the time was some of the older guys that might listen, like Rick Boyer and stuff. I used to work for a guy called Tony Birchall at Streamline Cycles. And as an 18-year-old kid, you'd walk in there and it'd be like orange 222s and Patriots and M1s and Tasers. And it was the downhill shop. Like a lot of the Vic downhill kids went there. It was the main guy, and I worked for him. And the local people in the area was like Rob Eva and Dylan from SRAM, and a few of those guys used to kind of visit there, and we do downhill days and stuff all as a shop. And it was about who I knew. Like I wasn't a dick. I'm going to swear on this, huh?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, cool. That's all right. I was just like one of the guys, the young kid that worked at the shop, and went riding with him. And when I finished my degree, the job came up at Monza going, hey, do you want to answer the phones at Monza? And like Monza was an hour and 20 minutes away from home, and I didn't care. Hey, I drove there every day and loved it. And I did that. So at Monza for 5 years, kind of grew there. Monza then moved, and I went across to Mavic as a tech guy, warranty guy. Was there for a little bit as well. That was pretty cool. Got to travel, got to do all that sort of stuff. And then decided I'll give the things a go. And I had travelled to Whistler a little bit for my holidays previously, so I decided to move over there for a bit and work there for a season or so. And then came back to Australia and decided that bikes weren't for me. Kind of done everything I thought I could have done everything I thought I could do. Like I definitely ticked some boxes, and I was like, what's next? Like, I don't feel like I've gone to work for the last 10 years. Like, what can I do? So I went off and did my postgraduate studies in teaching. And that was a very strange flip on my radar, and did high school teaching for a little bit. And I went, nah, bugger this, I prefer bikes. I'm probably going to hit a kid. So went back and started back in the industry, and went back into shops of all things. Just sort of opportunity came up, followed it, and now I'm back in the wholesale sector working for Bosch with the e-bike side of things. And here I am. Nearly 20 years later, I thought I would get out and get a real job, and I'm still here.
I love that. You work for one of the biggest names in the world for electronics, and one of the biggest names for electric bikes, and you still don't call it a real job. Like, I just love that about the industry. Yeah,
pretty fortunate that there's days it's definitely work, but I don't know. I don't know if I didn't like bikes, it would be a real job. Hey, so I guess if you're interested in something, it definitely helps. So,
if we rewind back there, you were at that bike shop when you're an 18-year-old or younger, and you've got, like, for those that don't know, Rob Eva is Mr. SRAM now, pretty much, for Australia. He's been around since the unicycle and the penny farthing were race bikes.
I think older. Hey.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like square wheels made of rocks. Maybe it was probably when he started riding bikes. And then you got Dylan from SRAM, who's like a huge influence and like a massive, massive part of a lot of riders in Australia. What was it like having those heroes and stuff coming into your shop and going riding with them? And were you ever kind of starstruck or nervous about?
It was intimidating, hey. Like those guys, I didn't really know what it all meant when I was like an 18-year-old kid, because there was no internet. There was internet, but like there was not the exposure and stuff. It was like, oh, yeah, SRAM, they make derailleurs, and that's sort of about it. And, but they were just guys that came in, talked trash. Rob shot his mouth off a lot, and Dylan was pretty tight with my old boss. And they were just other guys. And then we go away riding, and it was the same. Like, yeah, we had an old bus, and we used to old van, and it chewed more oil than petrol, and we used to go shuttling Narbathon. And it was like, now these guys are most of them still around and still ride, but like one of them was like the Sun Graphics guy, another guy's doing trail building now for Lake Mountain. Like, that was the crew that I grew up with, and it was just normal, I guess. Like, I didn't feel like I was a lot younger than those guys, and yeah, I don't know. It's just what I grew up with. It was sort of normal, but yeah, I didn't know what Monza was back then. I didn't really know how big a warehouse was and how big this product was. And even back then, it's not what it is today.
Well, like, if you're a bike nerd and deep in the industry and just froth on everything, like myself, that would research what every company did, and I don't know, I'm just an industry nerd in some ways, but I think having that naivety and that you just don't know who you're riding with, like, opens your mind to know more about them, if you know what I mean. Do you think that was the case?
A little bit. Like, it was still really small. Like, I didn't see them as big, larger than life figures. They were just dudes that popped into the shop on the weekend, like on the Friday, and hung out. And I bought a set of forks off them, and like, they got them cheap, so I get them cheap. And I didn't know what I had. I had like pretty cool forks, and it was just the connection. I think that's the I don't know, that's probably the whole thing of the melting pot of this industry, is everybody knows everybody. Everybody gets along with, or somewhat gets along with everybody. And I don't know, I don't see there's any real levels between it. I guess like everybody's doing their own thing. We're all mates, we all catch up, and like even like you mentioned, like, I know we talk about like maybe some pros and stuff, but like I see these people and they're just normal people to me. Like I always felt like I was a little bit like younger, but I was like, I'm not the best rider. So it was, and I was like, and when I got further into the industry, I was like, well, I'm helping, they're the guys are the stars, they're the guys who are racing, they're the big wigs, like I'm going to be helping them out. But yeah, I never felt like I could hang with them on the bike, that's for sure. But it was, yeah, I felt like it wasn't like just cool dudes. They're just other dudes. Like,
Yeah.
We're all together. So yeah, but yeah, as you move through the industry, like now you see who's doing what, and it's impressive how far people have gone. So, and where they started very humble beginnings, and you know, now we're all doing pretty special things.
So yeah, it's like the progression. People think there's some sort of weird, I guess, Illuminati way of getting up into the industry, and like, but it is actually really easy. You just got to put the work in, and I think that's what people see and how you get in the industry, I guess.
Yeah.
You mentioned you didn't know who Monza were and what they kind of did, and you thought they brought in SRAM. If people don't know how big Monza is, like especially during the time you were there, it was massive. Like they're the biggest motorcycle parts importer in Australia still, plus one of the biggest for bicycle. You were there for like the strongest time. What was your job there over the 5 or so years you were there? Like what were you doing?
Yeah, so Monza now I think it's called PSI or something. So, but it has changed a lot. So we generally refer it to old Monza as the time, and even then, like, yeah, moto was massive for them. Like bicycle was maybe like 30% of like their total business, and maybe even less. But I got the call up to answer the phone, and I went in for a job interview, and it was like, hey, we want you to answer the phone and take some orders, and that was the job. So started out pretty humble. Like there was no B2B sites or anything back then. Like a bike shop needed to order something, they'd call it through. That was the only way, or they'd fax it. So so we'd get all that coming through, and we just process it and go from there. And I sort of did the phones for a little bit, but I was so hot for Intense. Hey, like Intense were the coolest bike for me, and we did it. And I just annoyed the SRAM product manager back then was Nick, his name was, and he did Intense, and like all his energy went into SRAM because that was the big brand. And I was like, mate, just let me do some like Intense warranties, and you know, like I'll help you out. Like I'll email like Jen and all those guys in the States and process the claims. And we should do an order form for Intense and like do some build kits. And he's like, mate, like take it off my hands. Like I don't care. Like he was so burnt out with it. And I just sort of weaseled my way in. I think I just persistently asked till he gave in. And started doing a little bit with Intense and learned the back end a bit with like, okay, this is what it costs. This is what we sell it for. You know, this is how we get the air freight. This is when an air freight's worthwhile bringing in, like da-da-da-da. And sort of helped out with that. And that sort of led into, we did GT bikes at the time. And I then were like, okay, we were positioned open for GT warranty. So I became the GT warranty guy. And that was my primary focus. But in a business like that, like everybody helps everybody. So like the phones would ring. Like we had cool dudes on the phones. And I would help them with that as well while doing all the warranty. So I got to liaise with the dealers and everything like that, and go to some trade shows overseas and go to the factories. So yeah, that was where I really got started in warranties and dealing with the factories and processing claims and that sort of stuff. And then Monza had GT for a while, and a few things changed internally with GT as a company. They we lost GT effectively, is probably the best way of doing it. They consolidated and merged to another distributor. So I was sort of out of my job a little bit, but we were cooking on some other stuff as well. My direct boss was over at Eurobike, and he was like, shit, what are we doing? Like, we've lost a big chunk of revenue. And he got told, like, hey, like back in the back corner, there's a massive booth there. Company, it's called Cube.
Yeah, okay.
And he went and talked to Cube and came back and bought 2 bikes back with him. And we looked at it. And at that time, we were sponsoring, like, the GT was sponsoring the Talk Nutrition team and a few different things. And we're like, man, we're going to, like, that was like a GT SRAM deal and everything like that. And like, we're not going to have bikes for them. Like, we're just going to have components. They're going to be on a different company and that's it. So Stephen, my boss, bought back Cube. So I was the Cube warranty guy then. And then that sort of grew. But he was pretty trusting with me. Like, he let me do all the back end stuff, the, creation of purchase orders. We worked out pricing together, like spreadsheets.
Yeah.
And then liaise with dealers and launch books and go to market schemes. And so that was Cube. And I also was doing a couple of other brands, like bike brands at the side. Like, Complete Bikes was sort of my area of what I knew. Like, I was sort of doing, there was charge bikes back then, which was only small. And when we had a massive hole of GT, like BMX was huge for Monza.
Yeah,
like,
true. Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of BMX bikes a year that was just gone. And we're like, shit, like, what do we do? And like, Stephen's contacts were incredible. And we were over in Taiwan and he introduced me to some people. And at that stage, there was a company called We the People, and they were starting a new brand called Radio BMX. And so we went to market with them, and that was it. So that was my time. It was pretty much bike branding. Doing that side of it, working with my boss, Stephen, who kept me on a pretty good leash, but taught me everything, like taught me a lot. But while that was all going on, the entire time I was sort of racing a little bit, just sort of pack filling, donating prize money. And we would, SRAM back then was huge for going to all the nationals and especially in Vic, like all the state rounds and stuff. So
it's still the biggest presence at any race.
Yeah. And that's well, we can get into what like that as well. But I was going to some of those, wrenching with like Dylan or Trent as well, like kind of alternate, and usually messing up the flights and doing those ones. So yeah, I was doing the SRAM event support and things like that. So sort of got across everywhere. Like it was awesome. And still talking with the dealers, like the dealers were the best part of the job. Like product's awesome, like love bikes, but dealing with the customers when things are good are awesome as well. So I loved it. And then they changed, Monza moved warehouses to the western suburbs of Melbourne, and it was just too far. It was just too far for me to travel. It was going to take me like 2 hours to get there, and I was pretty burnt out with traffic and like working all during the week and then going away doing events and stuff. I needed a break, and job came up at Mavic, and that was pretty close to home. And I knew one of the guys there already, because when I was doing like SRAM event support, we would do our tent, and then you'd always have the Kona factory team kind of near us. So, and that was a guy called Ty McLean, and he's still at Kona. And he's like, I'll come across, and I drank the Kool-Aid and bought some yellow wheels, and that was that. Built a lot of wheels, and Monza was a massive part of my life. Like, it was. Did my 25th birthday at a Taiwan factory dinner, and it was pretty wild. Like, it was, my formative years were definitely there. Like, I was a young boy when I started, and when I left, I learned a lot about myself, a lot about the industry, and I wouldn't change any of it. So it was pretty wild.
While you were there, you were obviously supporting a lot of punters at the races, like they still do now. Like they help out everyone, but you had some small kids kicking around, one by the name of Dean Lucas, another kid still up and comer, Connor Fearon, and Troy Brosnan, who probably hasn't grown that much since then. Did you know they were going to be like huge sensations at the time? Like, did you just work on their bike and kind of just see what they were doing, or was there something completely different about them, like in their race tactics even back then?
Yeah, it's like, you're right. Like, it's actually funny because not long ago, Dean Lucas just put up a photo of like, or a story or something, and it was him as like a Grom,
Yeah.
and I just commented like, just wrote back to his story like, "Hey mate, that's the way I remember you." And he wrote back. I didn't think he'd write back because he's got thousands and thousands of followers. And he wrote back. He was like, "Man, yeah, I was just a kid annoying you at the tent for free stuff. Like, that was it."
Yeah.
So that's the way he was with me, and I remember him. Back then, like, start on Troy. Like, Troy was, when I came along to SRAM, like, he was already being nurtured by Dylan, and like, that's a very strong friendship they've got there, and it's pretty special. But Troy was tiny, hey, like, he was already factory mongoose and kitted up, and he was the young professional, and he still is the professional. But back then, he said, like, he was pretty small. Like, back then, I think he had a set of lyrics because he was too light to run boxer, so he's got a little bigger.
Yeah.
But back then, like, yeah, he was already on the way, and yeah, Dean was, like, he was cool. Like, I have to admit, like, he was riding. I think he was riding when he first popped on the scene, like a green. Like, I remember it all stuff. He was like on a green commensale or something, and just picking all crazy lines, and like really creative and just fast. And like Ty McLean from Kona sort of obviously spotted that, and gave him a shot on the factory team. So yeah, Dean was like just electric to watch. And Connor, like, geez, these kids they're not kids anymore. They're full professionals now. But first time I ever saw Connor was at, like, my first year in Whistler would have been like maybe 2010.
Okay.
And he was on the, like, I just saw his name, like, because there was a couple of young Australian juniors over there at the time, and it was Connor, and I still remember like the sombrero kid he used to wear. Horrible.
Yeah.
But he entered in every event, like dual slalom and everything on his downhill bike. And I was like, okay, that's, Adelaide kid, pretty fast. Like, at that time, I think the Crimmins boys were over there at the time, and I was kind of talking to them about Intense for a little bit. We kind of cooked up a team with Intense with the Crimmins boys. And I sort of like saw Connor over there, and I was like, okay, like, fast. And then the next thing you know, we did with Intense, Nathan Rennie had retired and he was looking at coming back. And Intense gave him a frame, like like Monza, we gave him like a whole heap of kit and gave him a bike, and he just wanted to get back into it. But I think maybe it was pumped up as his big return, like his big, like, coming out of retirement. And it was a full mudfest race at Eildon, and like we had Rennie and all the SRAM guys. It was pretty big deal. And I don't know what Rennie finished that day, but Connor, just this young kid, junior racing in elite, just hosed everybody. And that was the start of Connor, like, so understated, like really quiet, but just let his riding do the talking. And then I think Ty, he's got an eye for it, and he just gets in early, started talking to Connor, and I think that was the start of Connor and Kona. So yeah, three dudes, three completely different ways of doing it, but all gone so far with it. So yeah, they're still kids to me. Like, yeah, super impressive. Hey, like, to see what they've done
and
where they've gone.
They all ride the same way now. Like, watching Dean Lucas look at lines at nationals was ridiculous. Like, he just found stuff that no one else looked at. Troy's super calm and pro and has this approach to it. And then, as I said to Miranda Miller, Connor, like, after a race run or after a day of practice, just Homer Simpsons into the bushes and disappears and is super quiet. Like, and then he'll come back out at race day and just appear.
Yeah, he's pretty quiet, hey. And then I had one night underground at a club overseas with Connor, and he comes out when he needs to. It's pretty good. So
I've heard the rumors. Yeah. But yeah, that's insane that you go from, like, working in a shop and helping out Rob Eva and Dylan from SRAM and stuff, and now you're wrenching on world champions bikes and working with those kids.
But back then, like, we had, like you said, like punters and stuff. Like, they were just other riders. They like the SRAM thing was a big community stuff. Like, and I think that's why I still love the brand. Like, I'm a lifer for the bike industry, but I'm definitely a SRAM guy through. Like,
100%.
And we used to make an area like a pits, and it was like a second home for the riders. Like, doesn't matter if it was a punter that needed help with their bike or a pro. Like, we'd always help whoever and try and get them going. And that was the thing. And it didn't matter if you had, you had obviously our product, and we'd help you. We'd do what we could to help. So that was a big thing of it. And like, it changed. Like, pros then knew what they wanted. Like, you come in and they need this done and this fixed and stuff. And then, often punters would come in, or the inexperienced or the age groupers and stuff, and they smack their rock, like smack a derail against a rock, and we file it or replace it or fix their brakes. Like, it was different sort of work, but the factory guys generally got stuff swapped out, while the punters, we made it work. I hate the term punters, but it's the only way to describe that. So.
Well, I mean, I don't see it as like a derogatory, if that's the word for it. Too.
Yeah, I'm
a punter. I love it. Like,
age grouper, maybe.
Yeah, an age grouper. Expert riders. I don't know, but
the expert guys were the most serious. Hey, they were the most like
100%.
No expert rider had ever trained, had ever ridden the track before, or their bike wasn't working well. They were up there. Like, most of them would get top 5 in a league. Like,
oh yeah, they carry sandbags in their backpacks for training, just for when they sandbag that race. Like, they're around.
Yeah,
but yeah, you mentioned you just swap parts out for the pros, and then you file and make stuff work for the general crew. Like, but it is kind of weird rocking up still to this day. Rock up to that SRAM tent, and you got those 3 boys still sitting there. You got like Troy Brosnan, you got Timmy Eaton, Josh Button, Dean Lucas. The Ben Corey fan club's probably kicking around somewhere. Like, yeah, it's just mad.
It's still family, hey, and like, I'm a little bit more removed from it now, but that group of people, it's a big family, and they've got loyalty. It's pretty special what they've created.
And
especially, it's not just Australia, it's the mentality of like, you go over to Crankworks and you see the truck, and everybody's just hanging out, and like, you're there to work, like, you're there to do stuff, but like, I put my bag down to go riding laps next to some pros, and they look at me like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "You don't know who I am, but I'm a fan," and just keep going. It's like accepted. So,
and like, for general people looking inside that aren't the industry nerds as well, like, there'll be 3 kind of middle-aged older dudes or people with sunnies on and chilling, and next thing you know, it's like the brand manager for Canyon, intense, like, they're all just chilling together. Like, people think everyone's gonna get this massive fight about, it's like a gang warfare situation, but it's completely not that. And I think SRAM and Monza and what that brand is doing around creating that community is huge.
Yeah, community is a massive part of what we do, and it's not just, it's a bike shop. Like, the core of a bike shop is to build a community. Core of anything, everybody just wants to belong, so they've got it right. They've got the right mix.
But while you're working with these guys are obviously the pros, and they let off a lot of steam, and there's a lot of things that might happen throughout the weekend. What's like one of the craziest repairs or some of the weirdest stories you've had to do to help fix these guys and get their bikes working?
Yeah, back then there wasn't a lot of social media, so we could blow off a lot of steam a lot easier and stuff. It's I'm glad we don't have camera phones back then. So, but I don't know, some of the wild sort of repairs and stuff, like a couple of things, like some national rounds, you just cannot get ready for the weather. Like, the weather's just makes working, when you work, like, in a shop, you're trying to work in a clean room and you've got lint-free rags and all this sort of stuff. But when you're at the base of Threadbow and a storm's rolling and you've got a fork apart, you just got to make it work. Crazy stories from crazy repairs. I don't know, probably the most hectic one I ever did would have been nationals at Stromlo one year. Troy was on a Mongoose with orange rims, and he cooked a rim like morning of practice or whatever it was. and we didn't have spare wheels because back then it was like juniors and it wasn't as pro as it probably is now, and no spare wheel. So we did the ring around. I think Baden, Troy's dad, rang around a few shops that were open on a Saturday morning or something, and found one shop that had an orange MTX rim on the other side of Canberra. So sure enough, I got driven out by Baden with Troy's old wheel, did a build over at some random shop in Canberra, set it all up, came back, put his wheel on his bike, hoped I dished it right because the guy didn't have a dishing gauge. And Troy went up and made the race. And that was hectic. We were on a really tight schedule because I think the juniors went really early, like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I think we were at this shop at waiting for him to open. I think he even opened up early for us. That was probably the most time crunch ones. There was probably that. Probably another, it's always time crunch stuff. We rocked up to a state round and I think all the Kona guys were there and they had the full fleet of Connor, Dean, a few other guys. I think there was 5 riders or 6 riders. And we just released new code. Back then was code, the first silver code.
Yeah,
2011. The good ones. Yeah, definitely the good ones. Still my favourite brake. And Ty's handed me here's 6 sets of brakes. Practice starts in an hour and a half. Go. And so that was it. So, and I was like, can I leave the lines longer? I was like, no, I've got to make them short. I've got to do this properly. So that was a big time crunch one. Probably one of the most funny ones was at Threadbow in the rain. This is going to be a point that I probably always argue with Dylan about. The rain came in, we're doing forks, and I was doing a service on it was Troy's forks actually. And I think I jumped in the back of the van to get out of the weather. And to this day, Dylan says that I used diff oil in the lowers. And because we had all the car spares next to the fork stuff, we kind of packed everything down, and it was before finals. And he says it's diff oil. I used to kind of blend my oils a little bit. I had my own little kind of blend back then, and it could have looked like diff oil, but end of the day, Troy won, so who gives a crap? So but he still says diff oil. I still say it was my mix. So
there you go, kids. Diff oil in your forks.
Yeah.
It's the winning mix.
Don't do it. You won't get orange.
Definitely don't do that.
That's pretty good.
I
knocked myself out at nationals fixing the bike lines. That was good.
What point?
I don't know about it. It was at nationals and Sam was on Specialized.
Okay.
And they're we're just putting your brake pads in his bike. Can you go ride his bike around for 20 minutes to bed the pads in? So sure enough, I just tried doing a wheelie out of the car park and looped out on Hill's bike and just cracked my head on the sidewalk and came back a bit starry-eyed 20 minutes later. And I was like, fuck, what am I doing?
Oh, God.
He had a super short back end then. I think he had a custom short back end. And, yeah, man, I just cracked my head so hard.
Oh, God. Oh, well, at least it wasn't someone good, Spike.
Nah.
What was, how do you... I've been in shops, I've worked in shops and stuff before, and you hear people complain that they've got to bleed 3 sets of brakes in a day. They've only got 8 hours. And that's a time crunch. How do you kind of deal with getting in those situations and keeping a calm head and just getting the job done? Is there some sort of special kind of thing you do, or is it just a natural ability you have?
It's that fight or flight thing. If I don't do it, what's going to happen? You're going to have 6 pissed off riders who can't ride. It's going to look bad for the brand. It's going to look bad for you. You just got to suck it up and get it done. I think I've got a little bit back then. You just had to do it, and it's lucky. When you work for a brand, it's sort of different. In a shop environment where you work so varied, but when you we could do forks super quick because that's what we did. We had a tech guy called Hyson. Man, he was quick with forks, and he would time himself and try and better it. And we had like a common repair that we did on a batch of forks, and he was changing out dampeners without taking lowers off and doing things like that. And he could do it in like 7 minutes, like cartridge installs in 7 minutes. And it was a game. It was a game to him. And like, yeah, if you do that stuff all the time, like Mavic wheels, like building a Mavic wheel, like when the time crunch is there, like the owner of Mavic for Australia, he was like, mate, we get paid to do warranties. Like, you've got to build a wheel in 15 minutes. Like, that's the pay rate that we get. And I was like, you taking the piss. And, sure enough, like when the pressure was on, like I had a cerium, I had a truck waiting and I had to build a cerium, and it was done in 20 minutes, like in a box, freight labeled out. And like, you're ruined because you do it. But when the pressure's there, you've just got to lift. And when you're doing it all the time, it's a little bit easy to do. So, I know that if I had to go build a cerium now, it'd probably take me an hour. Like, when you're doing stuff so often, it's just muscle memory almost. Like bleeding brakes, like you've got the right equipment for one. Like, I've got a bleed kit that works. Like, it's going to bleed up properly. Like, you go to a bike shop and they've got a crummy old like universal bleed kit that's leaking air into it. Like, never going to get it right. So if you have all the stuff, you have everything there to do it. It's easy. You just do it, because someone's not going to race if you don't do it. And someone's paid race entry, and the sponsor's going to be mad. You just got to do it.
You just, sometimes it's easy just to suck it up and get dug in. And,
definitely.
I remember watching Lockie at one of the SRAM events, and I think Trev was there as well. Even like Peltari, and watching them, like you get the camera ready to film them doing a fork service, and it's done by the time you've turned your camera. Like, there's no time, so you just got to keep your camera on them the whole time, just in case something happens. It's a phenomenal skill and art they have to do that while talking to people and get it dialed every single time. And what you guys do is next level. But you did mention there you worked with Mavic and you got really good at muscle memory. How was it being a warranty manager for Mavic? So I'm not going to hide anything. I don't like those wheels at all. They're not very reliable. So you might be able to change my mind, but what was it like there?
I don't know why I don't think it's reliable. I've got nothing but good stuff to say about it. Hey, I don't know. Like, I'll be brutally honest. Hey, like, stuff breaks. Stuff breaks a lot. Like, I'm paying my house off because bikes break. Like, it's my job. Like, I'm not going to tell you that nothing breaks. And like, when they say like, oh, I've never seen that happen before, like, and you're standing behind a box of like boxes of broken product, like, stuff breaks. And Mavic, like, that was a full-time job, like Mavic and tech support stuff there. But when you bring in containers of wheels every month, like, the failure rates are pretty acceptable, I guess. Like, you look at it that way, how much product is actually out there and what's actually breaking, it's pretty good. Like, but the flip side of it is being honest and authentic. Like, stuff breaks, stuff has problems. The best stuff in the world still breaks. Like, things break because it's for race use only, and punters are using it every weekend and not maintaining it. Something breaks after 6 months and they're cracking shits. It's like, it's a race product. It's a throwaway product. Like, how the brand handles that breakage is the most important thing.
100%.
So if you've got great product and really shitty service, why would you buy it? Like, if you've got product that is, okay, you've got some bugs and maybe Gen 2 might be better than Gen 3 or Gen 1, how you deal with it is keeping customers loyal and keeping that brand going. So, like, I can't think of one brand that's never had problems. Like, you can rattle off any brand and you can probably talk about their issues, and some of, like, won't go into it. I don't like to bring up dirty laundry or maybe make a case of it, but there's certain brands that will send stuff out in advance and just to reduce rider downtime and keep them happy. And, you know, a lot of that stuff with the breakages and stuff, like warranty is a tricky one. Like it's, my life's around it. Like that's my job is warranty. And like warranty is a manufacturer's defect. And like we got stuff that was pile driven into the earth, or like a like I've got a Mavic, I've got a Mavic wheel that's like I'm not how it used to be, but it's like weight rated to 85 kilo. And it's like, that's 85 kilo with your bike and your equipment and everything like that. And man, there would be some dude who had it on his bike who weighed 120 kilo and would taco it because he probably did an X up over a 1 foot jump, landed like that and went over fast. But like, no worries, buddy, we'll take care of it. And like, that's it. Like, you just pick your battles. And, you know, that guy might buy another set of Mavic wheels, and, you know, that's how we sort of dealt with it back then. You pick your battles and stuff like that, and make sure the customer has a good experience and try and limit their downtime and keep them stoked on riding. And, you know, some brands have had some terrible product and they're still in business.
Mate, Lamborghinis spontaneously catch on fire. Like, that's the one thing I always remind myself is like,
exactly.
There could be $1 million car that just spontaneously catches on fire in the car park. Like,
yeah. And the other side, like that Lamborghini, for example, is, you know, you've got a Lamborghini, like you're not going to take it to Bob's Automotive on the corner of your street who's just doing things. Like, there's certain processes, and a lot of the problems that we had with, like, especially Mavic, because it was a proprietary systems a lot of the way. Like you had to adjust certain things a certain way, and if you didn't follow that process, you'd have issues with the wheel, and it was lack of care that caused things to amplify. And like the perfect example is with people getting a bad taste in their mouth about a certain product. And I'll explain this one, and if they want to talk to me about it, they can. But like, I went to TDU last year or something, the last TD tour down under that we had, and
2 years ago.
I was fortunate enough to Lockie couldn't stay the entire time, so we kind of did a day together. He pieced out and I kind of jumped on the tools at the SRAM tent. And it was, I would just call it the SRAM front derailleur clinic, because I spent majority of my time setting up those yaw axis front derailleurs. And for me, it was simple, and customers would be fuming, and they'd be like, this stuff, like some of the stuff they said, they were just frustrated. And I get it. Like, they spend all this money on a bike, it doesn't work the way they should. And a lot of it was just set up. Once you set it up, like, they'd come back in and go, mate, like, thank you. And it's, not taking the time to learn how stuff works. Doesn't mean you've got a shit product. It's just someone hasn't taken the care to do it properly.
I'll go out on a limb, and I'm pretty good at doing this. I'll probably get some messages, but I'd say a lot of mechanics and a lot of older mechanics that have been in the industry for a while get very complacent and very arrogant about their skills, and they think they know it all. And when a new product comes out, the packaging comes off and the instructions go on the bin because they've done it all before. And then you have something like that axis rear derailleur, which admittedly I had a lot of trouble setting up. It took me a long time to get my head around everything with that derailleur. It took some getting wrong to get it right, but like, people just don't want to learn. They're like, I've done a Shimano 105 derailleur a million times. It can't be that much different. So like, the customer gets a bad taste in their mouth. And the same thing happens with warranty as well, as you said, with those Mavic wheels. Like, if you haven't messed around with them, you don't know what the issue is, and then you just call the warranty department. I'm sure you saw that as well. Like, is it hard for you to deal with the mechanics in the shops as well as part of like an education front, or how do you go about that?
It still goes on a lot. Like, there's still like a lot of education.
Like, too much.
You're right. There is the mechanics who know everything and been around. And like, I was on the other end of that, where I would swear at a mechanic because he set up a Di2 derailleur wrong, and I came from SRAM and then adjusted back to Di2. And like, with their limit screws, and they're like, you got to back them off a little bit more to make them kind of so they don't burn out. I was like, man, your mechanic's shit. Like, he's left your limit screws out. You got to throw the chain. And it was pretty humbling to realize that I was wrong. And you get guys from from an education thing, like, you know, like they've messed it up. They've messed up a customer's product, and you know they want warranty. Like, and you're like, geez, I can't submit this because the European dude or the person at the other end that I've got to submit the claim to, they're going to look at it and they're like, red light, green light. Like, no, that's not a defect. You don't get credit. That's not replacement. You got to pick your battles. And some of the times, like, you know, comping some product to the, like, hey, like, I'll replace this. It's goodwill, you know, like, take the time, like, do it properly. And, you know, next time we won't have this problem. Because if you just like, whatever, they're going to be pissed off with the brand, or they'll continue going around the same way, adjusting or servicing or something the same way, and completely mess it up. Like, yeah, it's,
and
sometimes you just got to.
It seems easy to fall back on the brand as well. Like, I've personally fucked things up. Everyone has. It's not a mechanic, you do it. And sometimes I just paid for it myself and got a new part in, like, just to keep the customer happy. And sometimes that's the best way to do it, and keep the customer happy. You don't piss off the brand. But I'm sure you've seen that mentality of, oh, it's the brand's fault, let's just go to warranty, which I think is a pretty average case.
I'm copying it all the time at the moment with like I said before, I work with e-bike now, and e-bike is a great unknown for a lot of dealers, and people aren't really, some shops are really good with it, like they put that out there, but there's other shops that just want to sell an e-bike and not deal with it. And when it comes back in, their first thing, instead of, they're paying a mechanic good money to fix it, and they're just handballing it. And that gets a little frustrating, but, you know, I get it. I was that when e-bikes first started. I didn't want to touch them. I was like, I'm just going to a distributor. Like, I didn't say I didn't do that. I tried a few things and then went, man, I don't know what's going on with this. Like, I'm a crusty old mechanic. Like, I'm in love with cables and rim brakes. Like, that stuff makes sense. But as like electronic stuff, like, no, I'm out paid. Like, it's it's not until you learn it makes sense. So you just got to, like everything's an investment. Invest into your knowledge and you'll reap the benefits.
While we're on the topic of warranty and stuff, we'll move on to e-bikes later, the dirty word. But what do you reckon is one of the craziest, like, warranty claims that you've seen be tried to be submitted? The classic JRA type claim. Like, do you have any in memory?
Oh, there's plenty of those, like getting a wheel in like a million pieces, and it's just like, this thing's been eaten by a shark or something like that. Like, there's no way that this has gone under a truck. I don't know, some of the warranty, I don't know, there's been some real classic ones. Hey, like, I have to admit, the internet's been brilliant because I can do a lot of damage with the internet. I'm pretty good with Google. And more recently, e-bike, we'll talk about e-bike, there's a big thing at the moment, people hacking e-bikes to make them go faster. And a lot of the systems can tell they've been hacked, and we can see it's been hacked. And I had a bit of a Mexican standoff with a shop. No way, the customer hasn't hacked it. Well, he has. I'm looking at it. Oh no, he's not that sort of guy. He wouldn't know what he's doing. Like, there's no way. And I'm like, so it was like I say this, you say that. Like, and I was like, oh, bugger it. I'm going to punch his name into Google and see what comes up. And it was like, I found his review on Amazon for his speed box that he bought. I'm like, that was awesome. Like, knocking that one back. Like, it was like, you can't lie. Like, just don't lie. Yeah. And that was good. Like, yeah, the internet was good. And based around the internet, like, we had a bike at one of the distributors that I was at, and head tube straight off. Like, not like one tube broken and kind of like doing an accordion, like front end, back end, only held together by the one brake cable. And like, Jesus, like, this is a catastrophic failure. Like, this is like stuff we need to tell the factory about. Like, this is like
bad news.
Like QA, like quality control management sort of stuff. Like, this is bad news. Like, is the guy all right? And then, like, sure enough, we're panicking. Like, and then we get this like message, check out this. And it was a link to some guy's Instagram account of him just destroying a bike into a tree. And it was like, oh God. So there's some of the, like, kind of the kooky ones, like, you kind of go, Jesus, like, that's not a warranty, but like, stuff catches up. Like, don't bullshit it. We'll find out. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of the good ones were definitely like, people say like a slipping seat post and things like that. And you get all the photos and the guy's just driven 2 tech screws through the seat post to ride it like through the frame. And I'm just like,
I've never actually seen that, and I'm devastated. Like, that's like one of my bingo ticks or my Pokemon that I've got to catch. I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Hey, like that it's creative where you go, that should work. And like you and I as a mechanic would go, why would you do that? But the customer's like, well, that's how I put together my like corner of my house. Like, it'll work for this. Like, they don't think of how permanent it is and how much it's just destroying it. But I don't know. We can come back to the diff oil thing again. Like, man, I've seen some funky stuff come out of brakes. Like, my brakes don't work, and it's like, is this Jello? Like,
it's all brake oil. It's all brake fluid. You just put it in there, right? Like,
yeah, definitely not brake oil. So there's been some, there's just weird and wonderful things. I won't say anything really stands out, but there's been like stuff you just go, how? Like, that possible? Like, how did you get in the situation? Like,
it's almost impressive.
Yeah. And like you be around, like, I think some places like with warranty claims think that you're just a guy on the other end of the computer answering a phone call, and they don't probably know you've been around the shops a little bit, and they submit some stuff, and you're like, just do your job. Like, this is a sales opportunity. Like, you know, like, turn this 100%. Experience out for the customer. Like, this is not a defect.
100%. It's, and then on the other side, like, you have brands that don't warranty stuff that should be, but that's the whole thing for another day, I think.
Yeah.
While we were talking about that as well, you mentioned like the wheel building and working at Mavic and how jobs should be done at a workshop or at a shop. Like, there should be easy jobs and things that people should do. I've noticed recently, like, a lot of people have stopped building custom wheels, and building wheels seems to become this mystical art form. Do you think it's actually an art form, or there's something crazy about it, or is it just people don't want to learn? Or what are your thoughts around the wheel building process and why it's kind of dying?
Is it an art form? I don't know. Like, it's very methodical, and if you miss a step, it's all over. And once you start chasing your tail on building a wheel, like, it never comes good. You're putting stresses in areas that shouldn't be, and your spoke tensions all over the place. Is it a dying art? Definitely. Like, definitely. Like, not many new guys. Like, I commend anybody who can still go. Like, young kids now, I build a wheel, I'm like, do you want a job? Like, really? Because not many people do it, and people just send it back to distributors, and like, people who build wheels can charge like exorbitant amounts of money now for wheels. Like, dying skill, but the ones that can do it are cleaning up for sure. And like, I'm watching a couple of wheel companies pop out at the moment who are doing custom wheels, and like, it's awesome to see. Like, people are still doing it. Like, I think the whole craft of like when people used to do snowflakes and they do all the weird lacing patterns and stuff like that, like, that's done, and that can stay done for as far as I'm concerned. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. There's a couple of things that can stay in the past, and that's it. So it does look cool, but like, I'm a practical guy, so I don't see that in it. But like, when I started, the guy who taught me how to build wheels, man, he does funky stuff that I just go, geez, like tying and like soldering spokes and doing all the different custom things. Like, that's what we used to do. And some of that stuff can stay apart for sure. But I don't know, I was just always taught there was a process. And like, the best thing that I ever got taught with a wheel, and like, anybody's going to build a wheel, like, the one thing you need to know is like, the first spoke you put in determines the rest of the wheel build. So make sure 100%. You always get that right. And like, I always build my wheels the same way, and I've had pretty good success out of it. And like, it might not be the same as everybody else's, but for me it works. And you just follow the steps. You just, everything is understand how a wheel works. And people are scared of wheels, and people don't like truing them. And Yeah, I don't know. I see everything as like, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of got some tunnel vision going, but if I go, I know how it works. So for me, if I'm doing that, I know the reaction, I'm within range, like, let's just get it done. So
I find wheel building like a very meditative process. Like, I don't know like what it is about it, but just that repetitive, you just get in a zone and you just do it. And it's so meditative until you realize you fucked it. But like you go back to the start and you do it again, and it's just, you get in this zone and it's really cool.
it's definitely zen. Like I do like doing wheels, especially in front of the TV on the weekend. I like doing it. I can just chill out. And yeah, they just come together. And then I don't know, you start it like, I definitely used to stress out like the last part of it when you're like chasing that perfection, like you're chasing like the run out, and like, I don't know, like I got my ass kicked at Mavic. Hey, like when I first started, they're like, our rollout is 0.3 of a mil tolerance. Like, you've got to build it. And like, I followed some pretty good wheel builders in that place, and that was the norm. Like, that was what we had to do. And so, you know, I'd probably let my standards go a little bit, especially when it's my own wheels now. But it was like
5 mils good enough. Yeah, let it go.
As long as it clears the chainstays, dude, that's all that matters. So, but you know, it was, it's, people are scared of it, and I don't know why. Because like, if you just follow a process, everything's with intention. Like, it's going to hold together. You got 32 spokes there, 28 spokes keeping it together. Like, I freak out more about, like, I ride and I'm not worrying about my wheels or wheels blowing up. I just go, hang on, there's 4 5x1 bolts holding my handlebars on, but I don't know if I've checked recently. And I'm like, spokes, like, wheels don't bother me, but like, that one bolt's holding a lot of weight right now, and I'm freaking out about that. So wheels, don't be scared. Like, it's methodical. If you have a process, there's really good manuals online now. And like, I got people who've got no place building wheels, like lacing a wheel and mate, good on you. Like, it's really good that you can do that, because it's just going to make you a better mechanic, and also more employable. It's a good skill set to have on your resume. Like, you walk in there and go, I know how to build wheels. So like,
yeah, it's as you said, it's dying, and it's really not that hard to go to around the streets and find like a hard rubbish bike and rip a wheel off of it. And if it's in good condition, just take it apart and rebuild it, and do that a couple of times and you're good to go. Like, it's not that hard. Even swapping like rims and starting in that spot, that gives you a good idea of spoke tension and the end steps. But yeah.
But you said before, like, oh, I've messed up, I just unwind everything back to reference point and start again. Like, that's what you got to remember. Some people, they get out of, like, they overcorrect and then they get lost in the wheel and they start just freaking out, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And that's kind of like with everything. Hey, like, if you just go take a step back, start again, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah, same with like like those AXS trailers that you mentioned before.
Yeah.
Like, if one's come into a shop or into my stand and it's not working, I don't bother trying to find out what's wrong. I undo all the limit screws, I undo it, take it off the bike, and then start from step one, because it is way easier than chasing the actual issue. Until you find out the issue is me, but that's a whole other story.
No, but it's true with everything. Like, suspension tuning's like, in flavor right now. And like, you know, you think about how things work and you think about your problem, and you know, you've got a problem to solve. Like, I think I got a cane creek shock once and on a bike, and I went cross-eyed because I just started like, oh, something doesn't feel right. And I just dialed up everything and played around with it. I got so lost in the settings that I didn't know where I was and I didn't know what to do. And it felt horrible. And I was like, shit, I just put it back to the base, start slowly, do like small adjustments, and then just find it. Like, it happens to everybody. Like, you get flustered, and once you get flustered with everything, like, it's over. It's over.
Yeah, just chill and go back to that first step and reset, and you end up in a better spot. Now you've gone, as you mentioned, into e-bikes, and how's the learning curve and working on those things gone for you? Like, they're
I hated e-bikes to start with. Hey, I didn't want anything to know about them. Hey.
What was the reason?
Yeah, it was What was that?
What was the reasoning for the hate? Like, what was?
I used to be a bit of a, I'd say I was a semi-okay bike rider. I was useless if I put a race plate on. I couldn't get my head right. But I loved the training. I loved the hurt. And I was like, mate, it's cheating. Like, e-bike's cheating. Like, cheating. Sorry.
Okay.
Like, what? Just even a mate is like, I went e-biking on the weekend. It's on my CRF. I'm like, yeah, it's got an electric start. Yeah, it's a motorbike. So, I just didn't like them. Hey, and that was it. Like, I was a purist, like road bike, like rim brakes, cables, simple.
Yeah.
Like, I'm simple. Like, I love it that way. Like, it has to make sense. And I was pretty lucky. Like, I was probably one of the first guys to really be exposed to e-bikes, like back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
When I was at Mavic, I actually went across to Mavic in France for a distributor meeting, and we were kind of, the company that I was working for was kind of poking around thinking about e-bikes. Like, he was a bit of one of those fancy dudes that like to go over to fancy areas, and he saw all these people zipping around on urban town bikes and stuff, and he saw all these e-bikes, and I was like, maybe that's the thing. So we got in contact with what the parent company of what High Bike is.
That's right. Yeah, I was trying to remember who they were.
Yeah. So it was a whirlwind tour. I think I flew to France on the Friday or Saturday. I did a 3-day distributor meeting with Mavic, and he goes, "While you're over there, it's not that far.
Yeah.
Can you pop into Schweinfurt, which is in Germany, and go meet this company and just kind of get a bit of a lay of the land of how e-bikes work and what's involved in servicing them for Australia?" And so I went over to High Bike's factory and kind of sat down and went through some stuff, and I just sort of understood it a little bit. And I was like, these are never going to take off. Hey, like, why? We're going to bring one container a year. Like, is it worth it? And so I was exposed to it. I saw the early Bosch, Gen 1 and 2 stuff, because the High Bikes back then used Bosch. Played around with them a little bit over there. And all I remember from it was like, this is the motor, this is the battery. You do not open the motor. I was like, what are we going to be doing with these things? Like, there's no real servicing of them. It's just going to be swapping out parts. So that was early days, and that was it. That was like, I went overseas and I didn't think about e-bikes ever again. And then when I came back, e-bike, I think would have been about 2017, started like popping up, and I was like, nah, I'm not dealing with these. Like, if there's a problem, like, I don't, like, for the one bike a year, we don't need to sell these. We don't need to worry about them. And I didn't want to learn about it. And then I went to couple of training things, and I was like on the Yamahas and stuff. And I was like, okay, I guess I got to learn. And then sure enough, you sell a few, one comes in with an issue, and all the mechanics are looking at each other, and I'm the one who gets stuck with it. So I had to figure it out. So it was pretty, like, and that was it. I used to get all that tricky bullshit jobs that no one wanted to touch, and most of them revolved around electronics and people cutting Di2 wires and resoldering those, and e-bikes, and chasing a fault that you just swapping out parts to find it. And so that was it. So that was a learning curve then. And when the Bosch job sort of came up, I knew that I was probably as good as any, a good chance of sort of getting it, and especially because I had worked with Bosch, and then I'd done a bit of work with Levo at a dealer, and I worked with Yamaha, and I was like, they're all different, and like, they're all fantastic product. It all works. It all has its own thing. But I was like, the principles are all the same.
Yeah.
And I was like, I've got this. And like, sure enough, I didn't have it, and it was harder than I thought. And it was good. And like, it comes back to those bleeding, like, fitting up brakes. I do it every day now, and as a result, I've just amplified what I know about it. Like, man, there's some dealers I speak to who, like, I feel like a fraud, like a hoax dealer. Like, these guys are rebuilding battery cells, and I'm like,
that's scary.
I just do, like, they're doing cool stuff. And I'm just sort of sending out some warranty parts every now and then, troubleshooting on the phone, catching out hackers, buying stuff off Amazon. Like, that's what I did. So, yeah, it was a learning curve, but you know, you get started in it, throw yourself in the deep end, and if you don't learn it, you're out of job. You got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's
then
generally scary that people are rebuilding battery cells in their shop. Like, it's insane and cool, but also very scary.
yeah, but it's all relative. You give that guy a rear shock, he'd just go no.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you'd be like,
That's
so,
magic in there.
totally. So yeah, e-bikes are good, like, bit to get your head around, but the best thing you could do with it is ride one. Ride one. And then it all makes sense of what's going on and how it goes. Then once you ride one, like, you've ridden an e-bike, man. It's
Yeah.
first time I rode it, I was, this is going to be terrible. And I've never laughed and giggled like a schoolgirl after the first time that I just punched out more runs in an hour than my body could have ridden up in a day.
Yeah.
And I was sold. And once I had that interest, like, maybe that's why I still do this for a job, is like, I'm interested, so I want to learn it. Like, I'm not stoked on like highlighters and stuff, so I'm never going to go work for Officeworks, but I was stoked on an e-bike and I wanted to know all about it. So
the only problem with like test riding an e-bike is you're never going to have, like, make sure you have enough in your wallet to cover buying it, because
or just work in the bike industry and they might give you one.
Hopefully.
Come to the dark side. It's good.
Nah, it is definitely like, and the whole cheating thing I don't get, because I'm not in a race every ride. Like, I don't care if I get beaten up Strava by, I don't have a medal in my fake medal cabinet because someone rode up past and, like, who cares? It's still right.
I went out with a heap of dudes on e-bikes and I was sore. Like,
yeah.
It was like, the way I describe it is like, I had imagine like riding a 2002 Specialized big hit or something, like a 20 kilo downhill bike or something. It's like riding one of those. Like, they're actually a lot better than that. They actually ride really well, but the weight of it and like you're pushing through corners and the way you muscle the bike a little bit more, like all through your shoulders is sore. And when you're going like up a hill and everybody's pushing themselves out because they've all got free speed, you're still working, you're still sweating. Like, what you've done is you finished the ride, you've ridden further, and you've probably ridden as hard. So it's bloody awesome.
It's insane, like how much sore you are from like a e-bike ride, and then you go and jump on your normal bike, which weighs like half as much, and you go and pull up off that first jump and your front wheel's 6 foot higher than your rear because you've just yanked so hard. It's just a whole different experience.
It'll never be my only bike. Like, I still love the pedal bikes, and but for a tool to get around and see different trail, and like, I love what the new marketing push that's happening at the moment is like Delarue and all those guys at World Trail and soil searching bikes. Like, man, it's not just for riding and cheating, it's for so much more than that.
So one of our photographers down here, Jack Fletcher, Fletcher Media, he's got one of those Orbea risers, so the mini e-bike, and same with Kano. Actually, Kano Photo, he from Wheelride, he's got a specialized Levo, and those guys can take so many more shots in a day from so many different angles, especially at an enduro race, because they just zip around, and it's more of a work tool for them. It's insane.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's a great tool. So, but yeah, just be interested. Like, even mechanics, be interested in the product, and learning it becomes easy.
And it is quite fun. Some of the things you can learn about them, like they're just pretty damn interesting. You obviously grew up in Melbourne, and you've kind of been around there for most of your life, by the sounds of it, other than your odd work trips and stuff like that. But you mentioned in the intro you went to Whistler for a while as well. What was it like heading over there and working in the industry in arguably the heaven of mountain biking?
It's heaven. It is definitely good. It's not good getting paid $10 an hour over there, but it's pretty sick. Like, I used to go over there on my holidays when I was at Monza, and I would go over there for like a month at a time. I'd work like crank, like when I was over there, I'd work in the SRAM truck at Crankworks, doing ridiculous amounts of fork services and doing that. And then like you just ride, like you finish and you go do laps. And I was like, I have to come back. And I went back like a few times, like 3 times after that, like every summer, like took my annual leave and just spent all my money, rode a lot. And then I was sort of at a part of my life where I was like, I can go back. I could kind of quit my job. My lease is up in my house. I can, all the stars aligned, and I got a bit of a nudge, and it was like, let's do this. So I got to work in like a holiday visa and working with work visa, not a holiday visa. And sort of teed it up that one of my good friends that I grew up with is a mechanic at one of the shops over there, and he was staying in Melbourne or Adelaide that year, a guy called Trev, and he goes, well, do you want to take my job at the bike shop over there for the summer? And I jumped on the opportunity and did it. And over there, it's a different way of life. Like everybody's there for the same reason you are. Everybody's there to, and it's not just riding and stuff. And like, it's about being outdoors, and it's not about what you do for a job. Like it's about, hey, like we're going to go to the park or we're going to go ride this trail and stuff. So that was the best part about, like, definitely the best part. Like you just with like-minded people and riding the best shit in the world. Like you could just ride jumps all day. We're like, oh, we're going to go ride steep stuff. Like we'll go ride steep stuff all day. And I think probably the most important thing over there, like you're living in a village, and it's that sense of community over there. Like that was really impressive. And like we didn't have a car, and you didn't need a car. Like it's a bubble. Like in that, like everybody says that term, like it's a bubble over there, and it is. Like you don't need anything. Everything's self-contained. Like the other thing that I learned was like when we worked at the shop, there was one dude, like we all kind of sounded each other out in the first, couple of days. We have some meetings, and we're going to go do laps, and like everybody's kind of sounding each other out. And we had one guy who used to ride for Kona with us. Like, okay. So he's probably going to go. He's going to probably go first. And then there was like a couple of dudes from, I think they worked at some shops over at WA and stuff, and they're all over here. And they're like, okay, they're going to be there. And then there's another dude there, and he was wearing like the old Giro helmet or something, Bell helmet. Like it was straight, and he was riding one of the original like demo 8s that, and it was straight out of like the Collective or like mountain bike movie. I was like, and he had like his trail bike that was like, and like, no, like he just looked like a Joey or whatever it was. Like he had this old clapped out bike that he looked like he bought secondhand. He had this old helmet. He was riding in like t-shirts and like probably just Vans or something like that, like no gear. I was like, okay, like we'll let him go last. And he smoked all of us. Yeah. Like absolutely tore us apart. And then later on he goes, oh yeah, bro, like I used to be sponsored by Specialized like 10 years ago, and like he still had all this stuff and used to do it. And like this guy now, like you never judge a book by cover. It doesn't matter what you ride. Like you could go out with a heap of newbies and we're like, we're just gonna ride. And like no one cares if you're slow, no one cares if you're fast. There's no ego over there. You're all there for fun. And that was the most important thing, like living simply, not just having fun, taking that ego, like leave your ego at home. Doesn't matter who you are, we're here for fun. And that was really, really important. And that put a lot of stuff in perspective about what I wanted out of riding as well. Like I just enjoyed that environment of no racing. Like if you raced it, you paid $2 and you got like a beer and a burger at the end. Like that was sick. Like, yeah. And like some of those people were like still some really, really good friends, and we're all doing pretty cool stuff. Like that guy that absolutely smoked us on those clapped out Specialized. I think he now works for Raceface over in Canada. Like, it's bikes just takes. Yeah, it just doesn't matter who you are. You can just go anywhere with a bike on any bike. So like even now, like my bikes that I have, they're quite old. I haven't had a new bike for a while. I still get around on a few season-old bike, and I don't care. Like it's not as important. Like back in Monza, like I built some ridiculous bikes, like dream bikes, like pissed away all my money living at home sort of money bikes. Yeah. And now I just whatever. Like, I don't care if it's got a basic crank on it. Like, I'm fussy about suspension a little bit, but man, the middle level brakes and elbow rims are fine by me. Hey, like, it doesn't matter what you got. You're having fun. That's it.
I say that, but I've got this thing sitting behind me, which is basically a dream bike. But yeah, I do get your point. Like, you can ride whatever and it's still sweet. Like, it's, yeah. And the Canadians seem to have that attitude about them. Like, when it comes to riding, it's all just about the ride. It's not about what you do on it.
Yeah.
Like what you're doing it on.
Yeah.
So
that was good.
Were you over there around like 2016, 17 then? Was it
I was there for the 2014 season.
Yeah.
That was the year they did that massive, like, the first EWS over there. It's like Crankzilla. So I was there for that, and obviously into the winter a little bit there as well. So that was humbling, like going into a job in winter that I knew nothing about skiing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, it just puts everything in perspective. Like, it's good to be nobody. It's really good to be and know nothing and just be like, I've got to learn. Yeah, it was there. I was back there in 2017 though. So I've been there half a dozen times, I reckon, now. So
yeah, because I reckon when you went over to take Trev's job is when he was working at BE and I was working at BE.
Probably. Yeah, I think he stayed home that one.
Yeah.
But it was good because it allowed me to find my feet. Like I said, I knew a lot of people over there from being over the years, but for like the years previously. But yeah, it was good to go over there and make a new crew and make a new thing. Still to today's day, like, those people are really, really good friends, and I think it's all from a bike. And yeah.
It's funny, like that old guy that had all those parts and everything. When you were over there, it was like when Trev rocked up at BE and I'd never met him, and he goes riding in his pink tank top and he's on like a random Banshee, I think was at the time, and he's just wearing ripped knee pads, and yeah, like, who is this guy? Is he just gonna go? And then he absolutely blew the doors off of anyone I've ever seen before ride a bike.
Yeah.
Just blew my mind.
Yeah, you used to see other guys come over at the start of the season in their full like factory kit and the mirror lenses.
Yeah.
And then you just watch them over the thing where they just like, oh, wear a t-shirt today. And then you see them towards the end of the season and they're riding chainless, like no derailleur, no nothing. They're in just in jeans, and they're just like a 50-to-1 dude. Like, it's just, they're just gone complete the other way, and then like it's just back to its purest form. Like you see what Remy does now, and like with cranks and like no gears and stuff. It's like there was crew doing that back then. Like,
oh, for
riding,
sure.
I think there was a crew there that was riding like, I think they had old Iron Horse Sundays, and they had 24-inch tires and just moto bars and stuff. The bikes were like the death trap, and it's like all they'd do was they'd roll in, hit Crabapple and Dirt Merchant, and that was their day. Like. Bike was just a tool. Like, bike was pretty clapped out, but it got down the hill, and that's all that mattered.
Still smiling at the end.
Yeah.
Might move into some kind of stuff about the industry as a whole as well at the moment, but you've been in the industry for like 20 years, and we've mentioned a few products and your adaptation over the last 20 years. But what do you reckon are some of the best products and some of the worst products you've seen come through the industry or across your desk?
I don't know. The industry's pretty savage. If something doesn't work, it generally doesn't hit the market or it gets taken out. Like, things that I think I've really liked, like the dropper post. When this is going to sound so cliche, but the dropper post changed everything. Having the dropper post opened up a whole new world of riding, and I think in that, like, the enduro bike came out with it, and it meant you could have one bike to do everything. So that's I think that's a really, really important. I don't know. I used to ride a fair, and like even you're talking about Trev, like riding around on downhilling on rim brakes when disc came in, like that was pretty special. Like having a disc brake, a hydraulic, a brake that actually worked was pretty good. And moving like around 2008, 2009, like moving to suspension that actually really worked and had good damping was pretty cool. All the stuff that's good, I think, like from a practical point of view, like it's pretty cliche. I don't know. I think tan wall tires on mountain bikes is sick. That for me, that's where it's at. Like tan wall the world, hey, like it's awesome. I don't know. Worst products though, like again, mechanicals perspective, there's a few things, but man, linkage forks, they can just die. Like I'm not a fan. I rode a set. I get what happens when you ride them, but no, they can stay away as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I don't think I'll never have the urge to put my money down on one of those. If I do, I'll eat my hat. So in 20 years' time, when I'm riding linkage forks, crucify me.
I've seen like RockShox have put a patent in for one. So
nothing Specialized has got the patent. Yeah.
Sorry, Specialized. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I think it's cool. Like people got to progress and like you got to get out of the status quo and try new things. And like I understand like chasing that stuff and linkage fork, but man, you see on the front of the bike, it just looks dumb. So that's me. Like linkage forks. I don't know, rapid rise. I just hated it too. Like that's going back in the day, like 2004-ish. Like never liked rapid rise. Again, I understand the concept, but it's kind of like a gearbox. Like I understand the concept. Communism works as a concept, but gearbox don't work. Like that's like it's those sort of things. Like you've got this idealistic kind of goal product and it should work and you want to love it, but it just doesn't work. They're probably the stuff, things I don't like.
Gearboxes could work. They have a future.
Yeah.
If done properly.
If it's done properly, but until it's done properly, I'll just keep using my normal gears. It seems to work pretty good for me. I don't know. I think with that, like the bikes have like escalated pretty quickly. Like we had 9-speed for years and then it's gone 10, 11, 12. And as stuff starts getting a little like to the masses, I think you lose your way a little bit. So it's pretty exciting to see like the new, like the micro shift stuff, like the 9-speed wide range micro stuff. Like that stuff's awesome for a price point. While other products, it's all plasticky and it just never shifts the best. It takes someone looks at it the wrong way and it stops shifting properly. Like, so I think cheap stuff, you got to pay to play. Like cheap stuff, if done, it has to be thoughtful. 12-speed plastic doesn't work.
100%. I would much rather, I'm a SRAM fanboy, love their stuff, but I would run micro shift 9-speed stuff over SX any day of the week.
Yeah. And most of the users now are kids. And the kids, I'll tell you what, my local jumps, all those kids can bloody whip. Like they can boost and they can throw down, but none of those fuckers can land straight. And giving them and so like having a bit more of a durable product, like I think speaks pretty good. So yeah.
Dude, someone said the other day to me, like, I actually think it might have been our mutual friend, the man that suggested you, Howison himself. He said something along the lines of bikes aren't reliable anymore, or like just the stuff they're making is not reliable. And I'm like, I felt like saying to him, go and ride a bike from the 90s and tell me how long it lasts on the trail that you're riding now, and then try and climb back up the hill on it. Like, we've forgotten how good things have got.
Yeah. I think it's also changed. Like there's a trail overseas. It's called, a river runs through it. It's just a basic XC loop, and it has a like typical Canadian crap. Like it's got a skinny, elevated skinny, and it goes through a tree. And they've cut a hole on a tree about like that wide. And over the years, you see where the handlebars are, they've scalloped it out.
Yep.
And like sort of growing up and riding a bit of stuff around near my house, I had like that Listerfield Lake near where I grew up. And the tracks, when I first started riding them with like the Streamline Cycles guys and like some of the ones with Dylan and those sort of guys back in the day, they were janky, hey. Like we're riding 26-inch, 3x9, probably 20 mil like handlebars like that wide. And the trails were just janky, hey. Like you only got to open it up on a fire road and that was it. And then as trails are getting, as like what comes first, the more progressive geometry, wide, long wide handlebar bike or the more flowy trails. And I think they're just matching each other. As trails get more flowy and stuff, the bikes are changing and evolving to suit. So what's driving it? Is it the trails or is it the bike? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I could go on a huge tangent on trails, especially down here at the moment. And I caught some shit from it at one of my first tech talk, actually, when I said our trails are shit. And it's because our legal trails are just getting flowier. And as you said, like, just used to riding that janky, slower stuff that you were genuinely scared about dying on. Whereas now I'm more scared of just going so fast. Like, you're just pinning. It's weird.
Yeah.
Instead of like the kind of componentry and trails and everything else, you've been in the industry again for 20 years and you've seen the back end of it. Has it evolved, and do you think there's anything that could change in our industry at the moment? I mean, like shop-wise, dealer-wise, in every aspect, like there's certain things that you wish would kind of change or have changed for the better?
Like the industry itself's getting more honed, like everything's getting more polished and stuff. And like, if we're talking about at a whole, like our industry's come a long way. Like it's definitely more professional than it was. And, there's also, production's getting better, pricing is getting better. It's definitely cool. Like pricing to extent, like, what some stuff's super expensive, but, you can buy a pretty capable bike now for like good money, while previously it was $1,000 plus for anything that you wanted to take off the road seriously. And I think, like the industry now, like it was tough, like starting out with it, like, salary wise, trying to get a decent job and things like that. It was always tough. Like it's definitely, you do your time, maybe it's because I've done my time with it. I'm a bit more comfortable now, but like, there's more professionalism in it now, and I think maybe because other people, I used to hate people that, like, that's a strong word, like, again, purist sort of mentality. It's like someone who wasn't in the industry coming into the industry, it's like, well, what are you doing here? Like, you're visiting, I live here, like, this is what we do. And with those professionals come ideas that are external from our industry that works in real business and stuff that is being business. And like, I think that's really important. I think, so industry wise, branding wise, everything's getting better. Like there's so much transparency now. There's so much optic on product and company. Like someone makes a slur on anything, like it's, you lose sponsors and things like that. But so that side of it is really, really good. Shops are getting better. Like you can see over the last few years, like shops, like we were talking, I think before we started, like shops are forced to do better. Like they've got to be pro, they've got to merchandise, they've got to have a clean space. They just can't have shitty bike boxes as you walk in and clutter it over. But I think the big area that we need to improve is mechanics. Like there's a shortage of mechanics. Like, let's be perfectly honest, like there's a lot of mechanics out there, but there's very few good ones. And I'll put my hand on my heart, I've seen what's out there. There's a few good ones out there, and there's not many great ones. And if there are a great one, they go off and chase real money. Like that's what's there. So how do we like foster keeping good staff in? And there's big pay gap. There's some mechanics that are earning good money, and there's some who work at like a mum and dad bike shop that you can make more money stocking stuff at Coles, like putting stuff on shelves. Like and that guy who's earning not enough money is in charge of making sure your brakes stop so you don't run into a car. Like, so I think shops have to get better than that and kind of learn to retain staff. But it's hard though, because mechanics are always sort of like seen as, I don't know, you can't have a bike shop without a mechanic.
No.
Like who's going to build the bikes? Who's going to do that? So I've been in those conversations where it's like, you need to make X amount of money to make it worthwhile to have you. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like you're talking to people that way, like way to put them down. And then it's that common, the trade-off is, if you pay a mechanic a certain amount, then you've got to think about, you've got to pay them the super and, you know, what the rent is for the shop and things like that. You know, that mechanic's got to turn over, you can just pick a nominal number, like that mechanic's got to turn over technically $100,000 a year of labour to keep them there.
Yeah.
Like, how many mechanics? Well, there's very few mechanics that actually do that. By the time you throw in free services, warranty build-overs, and the owner is just looking at the bottom line, going, "It costs me money for you to be here," but really it doesn't. It's a number that they're never going to hit because of the cost of the business. So mechanics are not really respected, I don't think. But there's no standardisation. Like, there's no qualification to work on a vehicle, and like, this is people who commute to work, that's their livelihood, you're fixing their stuff. Like, should you be qualified to do it? Well, if you're qualified, you're probably going to be paid more. Job's not worth that. It's tricky, but it becomes with standardisation as well. Like, there's a couple of good mechanics out there, and a couple of real good ones, and I reckon they struggle to get what they deserve. But I know, like, for example, I had a mechanic that worked under me, and he was, how do you pay him? Like, he could do stuff that I couldn't do. Like, he was an inner city. He actually has a shop now in Fitzroy of all places, so a bit of a hipster sort of guy. Like,
yeah.
But man, you give him a internal gear hub, kind of like Sturmey Archer or like roll-off hub, and he would pull that thing down. He would know that inside out. And
you can have that.
Man, that scares me. But I would go, "Can you please service my forks?" And he'd just go,
no.
Like, it was a dark art. But how do you quantify what he knows as a skill set versus what I know as a skill set, and how do you come up with a mutual sort of pay on that? So there is a few things happening in the pipeline that I've heard about, trying to, like, people tried it previously, but like some sort of accreditation system. And, you know, there's rumours of like SciTech and stuff coming to Australia. I think that's great. Like, put everybody on a skill set, like a level 1 mechanic who can do this task, this task, and this task.
Yeah,
they get
100%.
paid. Yeah, and foster development and stuff, and make people lift and make people earn what they want to earn, because like, that wheel building's gone. Why is that gone? Same reason half the good mechanics are gone, and they're now doing apprenticeships and earning real money. Like, even tonight, I had a message from someone who works for a fairly big bike brand, and he's up in tech as well, and he's like thinking about doing an apprenticeship, though.
Oh, dude.
He works for one of the industry. He works for one of the market leaders, chasing money.
Yeah, I was pretty close to going down that route, or just going to an adult apprenticeship, because it wasn't that much less than what I would get paid in a shop.
Short-term gain for...
Yeah, and you get paid probably what you would have earned in 10 years, you'd get in like 3 or 4 in a proper trade. Like, it's insane. But on that, like, there's a couple of things I'd like to touch on for that as well. Is like, one, shops for some reason are scared of charging more for bigger jobs. I've noticed, especially down here. Shops can have a sliding scale. So, as I think we mentioned before with the podcast, like, if you're working on a $500 bike, you don't charge $400 for a service. That's just dumb, for one. But if you're working on a $10,000 bike that requires $400 worth of labor and attention to it, then you can charge that. Whereas a lot of people will charge $130 for each. And you've just lost like a 4-hour job. You charged $130 for it. Like, I don't see the point in that. And then on the apprenticeship side of things, there is a certain chain store in Australia that I know of that is got apprenticeships out there advertised. They pay on jobs done, and they're getting led by mechanics that have no skills and have been brought up in that shop. So does that apprenticeship relate to anything? Because, you know, they might not be getting trained in the right things. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I totally get what you mean. Like, it's that perceived job worth. Yeah. And like, you know, then like working in a shop, it is busy. Like, it can be busy, but it can also be cruisy. So, you know, how do you boost productivity? Well, you make them hungry, and you pay per job. And like, that's gone on previously. Like, not just that chain store. There's plenty of bike shops that would pay bike builds per build. and you just watch these mechanics, just like these kids just fight over the easiest bike to build, and no one will build a kid's bike with training wheels. Like, it happens. Like, it really, how do you motivate your staff? Like, I've paid mechanics good money who are rubbish and lazy, and they would do a couple of jobs a day and it would be pretty average, you know, and that young junior guy would do a better job for less money. So, like, I think there needs to be a skill set thing. Like, you're right. Like, you know, that apprentice is going to grow, and as long as his wage goes up as he learns more. But if you have that apprentice working on stuff outside of his realm and taking forever doing it, that's not a really good way of doing it either. So, yeah, I don't know. It struck it, that pay thing, and like, I would love to, definitely standardize a lot more of like mechanics' wages, because, but not just giving people more money because that's what they want and that's what a lot of them expect. And especially like you have like where you're located can also determine, like, there's some brilliant mechanics in rural areas you get paid nothing.
Yeah.
And I was that guy when I started at a bike. Like, maybe why I'm still here is because I like to get hurt. And like, my first bike shop, I first worked at, like, for a very short amount of time, like, I was getting paid. I thought I was getting paid, like, I was 17, working full time. He's like, we'll pay you as an apprentice or a trainee, and give me $250 a week cash, like $250 a week. And then I came around at tax time, like, hey, like, I'm here to get my group certificate. He goes, oh, we're never paying you on the books. Yeah. And it was just like, that's the standard. That's the industry we kind of work in. So the industry, and there's plenty of cowboys out there still doing it, and we need to get better with it. And you know,
100%.
Making some sort of standard, making some sort of not say regularly borrowed. Like, we've got the bicycle industry in Australia, and he's doing what he can, but you know, having some structure to what a mechanic can do and what they get paid as a result, to bring everybody up to a level. Because, like, I can tell you, like, in Melbourne, there's guys getting paid, like, I'll disclose money a little bit, but like, there's mechanics getting paid like minimum wage full time fixing bikes, and there's other guys, you know, the suburb across on 100K plus, like, like, there's such a range. And like, you know what, it is business, and if you're worth something, don't settle for anything less. Like, but there's got to be some sort of baseline, and there's not.
But it's not always about money as well. Like, one of my favorite jobs was working with like this family store, and I would never ever ask for any more money because it would just send them bust, like, or that fund. Yeah. But it was a sick job, and I got to work on some real quirky shit that taught me a lot. Yeah. So
and like, if you want to go work for a company like that, that's fine. But you know, like, you find in those situations that there's a lot more give and take in those things. Like, oh, you know, I'm going to skip off early and go right. And they're generally like, those small stores are like, yeah, we get it. Like, that's fine. So there's less give and take in those higher end situations.
Yeah. Do you remember?
The house always wins.
Do you remember those things called 8-hour days? They were good. What do you think about the sport and racing in Australia at the moment? I mean, obviously we're in a bit of a weird spot because of the big C, but what are your kind of thoughts? I mean, you've been around racing in the industry for a while. What are your thoughts on the sport as a whole?
I think it's, again, like, goes both ways. It's like, it's coming into a new age again. Like, we have so many more people buying bikes, and like, COVID has just amplified the amount of people who's bought a bike. There's so many more people on trails. Like, it's incredible. It's legitimizing what we do. Like, you know, like, previously, like, I had my high school reunion a long time ago, and they're like, what do you do? And I was like, oh, you know, I work with bicycles. And they're like, so I work with bikes, I said. And like, oh, like motorbikes? I was like, no, like bicycles. And they're like, oh, the thing you do when you like kids' bike. And I was like, yeah, that's it. But now, like, you can walk into a room and people go, oh yeah, I know what a bike is because I bought one over COVID. I get it. And so with that, we've got more people on bikes, and with that, there's more visibility of bikes. So there's, like, bike parks are going in everywhere. Like, you've got trail building companies popping up everywhere. New stuff in the pipeline, like Warburton and Medina and stuff's going off. Like, you're getting so much more accessibility to trails. So for me as a rider, like, that's cool, because previously we had to sneak out in the woods and hope a ranger wouldn't catch us. And so now it's a little bit less like smoke and mirrors. We've got cool places to ride, but and then like, economy of scale, like more bikes that get built, the prices will come down. Like, the more things are sourced, things get cheaper. And so that's really, really good. And we're in a lockdown in Melbourne, and I've got like a reserve, like maybe 50 meters away. And I was always kind of like, I think at high school, I was the only guy that rode bikes, and I raced BMX, and like, I was the only guy that rode a bike. And I think I was a bit weird because I was like into all the punk music and rode BMX, and people were like, what the fuck is this guy about with his tight jeans and stuff, like, and a wallet chain. And now, like, we can't go anywhere with the thing. And this little reserve, they've now punched in like a few trails, like a little council reserve, and the trails shouldn't be there. And I'll ride in on the weekend, and there'd be 40 people there in my local area. And you go, that's an e-bike, that's a pivot, that's like, geez, like in this little tight little area, there's so many more people that ride. So the infrastructure is getting there. Like my local trails down the road, Red Hill, they're hiring like someone to put on the books to fix trails. Like, that's sick.
That's insane. That's sick.
Trade-off though, big trade-off there though is trails used to be pretty gnarly, hey, and there's been I wouldn't say shit that's going to get you in trouble. You've got to be diplomatic in this industry, but there is definitely a massive dumbing down of it. And like I've said some stuff that got me in trouble with the local trails, like, mate, it's just the dumbing down continues. And that's the newbies that come in and, they want to do everything now, and they don't want to spend 10 years learning how to dial a section and jump big jumps. They want to do it in 3 weeks, and they hurt themselves. Trail gets demolished, a jump gets filled in. And that's the downside of all this the new cyclist, is that, stuff's popping up and then it's getting dumbed down real quick. And I love e-bikes, but you used to have to earn your turns to go out to the really cool shit that was way up the hill or like way out the back. And now the e-bike stops that fitness gain, like the fitness limitation, and also gives like people can hit stuff way quicker and get themselves in trouble a lot more. So yeah, it's good. I think we're in a bit of a teething situation right now, but it's good. More people on bikes is good. More people on bikes is really good for us in jobs as well. Like, that's selfish and maybe a bit capitalist, but it's true. Like, more people on bikes, the better. Like, it's what I've always wanted. People to see I'm not weird. This is actually pretty fucking cool what we do. Like, it's pretty fun. It's the most fun you'll have with your pants on. And then you've got the other aspect of, stuff's getting dumbed down because it is made for the masses. Things are getting saved. So, yeah, that's two sides of the same coin, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like, again, it can come down to shops or the industry or marketing or whatever, but no one kind of informs people about progression. Like, they see you go and buy this $10,000 sick bike, and they see the marketing and some dude's ripping on it, and they go, sick, I can do that, so let's go do that. And you're like, you've got to progress. And instead of building trails, like, I think Bear Creek did it really good. I think Medina's really good for doing it because Frenchie and those builders understand it. But there's no progression on a trail. It's all easy or hard. There's no, especially here, it just seems to be, let's just make it easier for everyone. There's no progression or anything. I don't know what it's like over there, but instead of having like a small jump lead into a bigger jump, or make things, progressively harder. Well, beelines don't exist anymore because the whole track is now a beeline. Like, it blows my mind. That's my rant.
It's definitely, it's totally fair. Like, that might be, society in general, like that kind of helicopter parent, they're wrapping the kid in bubble wrap sort of mentality. Like everything's safe. No one wants to take a risk because there's liability and stuff now. Like people will just protect themselves. So, you know, and then the trade-off is you build a really sick illegal trail somewhere, and then it just gets plastered over the internet, gets found, and the council comes in and takes it down. Like, or some kid who's just been riding the local legal park goes, I've seen this big jump in the middle of the woods, and then just sends it. And like, there was a video of like some local dirt jumps, and a guy, like probably the biggest crash, like didn't even come up short. Like he pile drove his front wheel into the back side of the landing, and like there was like a Gwen Stefani like meme to it and everything. And like, sure enough, man, those trails gone. Thanks. We run it for all the rest of us. So
yeah, there's a pretty notorious jump here for something like that, and people want to make it easier, and it's like, no, just chill and learn the other stuff first, whereas they want to hit this big whale tower first shot and they don't know how to pop a jump, and they hit it at what looks like 35k an hour, and they end up in the up ramp off the whale tower, like because they've just they don't know how to jump and set progressions.
I could jump. Like I used to, like I grew up racing BMX and on four-cross and stuff, so I can jump. And then about 5-6 years ago, I kind of decided to destroy myself and like break my neck on a jump. That jump now is way bigger, and I'm still not going to hit it. Like, it's like so I look at the other side of it, and I was like, this jump in these trails, like it was pretty steep and just booted me, and I went a bit too far and went over the handlebars, and it was pretty good. And I was like, man, that trail's going to get taken down for sure, because it claimed a few people that track. Yeah. And sure enough, man, I went and checked. I actually got goosebumps riding down it the other week, and I've got to see this warlock again. And like, man, it was big, and I was like, good. And I was like, good, like sort them out. Hey, like this is what you need.
Yeah. I mean, everyone crashes as well. That's the other thing you got to understand. Like, dude, look at Amri Piron and those crew. Like, they're the best, fastest in the world, and they all have accidents. Like, it's just part of the sport.
You have to get the stepping stone to get to that level. Like there's a mountain bike park in Melbourne that's pretty notorious known for its dumbing down, and they graded one trail the double black, and people were like, oh, I'm riding this double black trail. And like, I understand how trail rating's done, but there was no real exposure there. And I was like, it's a tech blue at best. And so what would happen is, like, it's dangerous. Like, this is a mountain bike club, and you go right. I can like lingo. Like, I can clean this trail. I can clean this double black, and no worries. And then they'll go to another place. Say they went over to Medina, and they rode a tech blue there.
Yeah,
they'd annihilate themselves.
Yeah, it's scary. Like here as well. Like a double black is a green trail. Like just based on the steepness, but that's another thing that could be standardized. Some people tried it, but it involves humans, so everything's going to be different. We talked. We'll start wrapping things up in a minute, but this is one thing I wanted to talk about. But we mentioned Trevor Burke, arguably one of the coolest race riders I've ever watched. Him, and another mutual friend of ours, Matt Taylor, did some shuttles one day. They're both two up-and-comers that probably could have gone further with their career. Like, I don't know why Matt Taylor wasn't on a factory team. Like, he was pinned. Same with like Henry Blake, who were some of the up-and-comers that you thought would have made it, but just didn't. And what do you think stopped them from going to that next step, that full world level?
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's been plenty of up-and-comers that have actually kind of done what they could do. Like the ones that really rose to the top are the ones that are doing quite well still. Like you're right, like Matty Taylor, he had some pretty cool skills on a bike, and I know he did I think he did the Cairns World Cup, because I built in some wheels before he went up. And he sort of dropped off, and it's like, I don't know, it would have been interesting to see what sort of happened with Andrew Crimmins. Like, he was pretty pinned for a while and sort of stepped back. So Yeah, like there's plenty of young kids that have got it. There's, yeah, like Matty Taylor definitely. Crimmins boys, like pretty good. We've had a couple of young guys out of Melbourne that was, they got on the Kona team for a little bit, and it just sort of seems that they turn 18, 19, they give it one crack at seniors and they sort of drop off. I don't know. It'd be hard. Like, I don't know if it's losing passion or it's just too hard. And at that level, like going to races is expensive. Like giving a full season travel, that's expensive, hey. And like then you got the bike cost. And like if you get a bike cheap or wholesale or turns on a bike, that's all right. But then you're cooking wheels every bit and tires and stuff. So the costs just add up. And I don't think the sponsorship opportunities are as good as what people think. I don't think the top 10 dudes and juniors and stuff, like, oh, you think they're getting free bikes? They're not.
No way.
Like they're paying their way. They get help, but it's off their own back. And the cost of it adds up. And then 18, 19, they're finding it hard in seniors. It was hyped up pretty heavily that this guy's going to be the next guy. Like, and then they kind of find it hard. And then the lure of a real job, and I'm just going to do my apprenticeship and maybe come back to it. And you see that. And some of those guys, like the Crimmins boys and stuff, like they still rip, hey. Like
it's ridiculous.
They need to wear shirts more often, but they still rip, hey. Like,
yep.
And they're still getting a bit of bike out of it. Like they're still enjoying it. And like, yeah, Matty Taylor, like we did back at Monza, we put together a little, Kona sort of little intense team, and it had like Angus Madden and
another guy he was brutal on a bike. Angus Madden.
Yeah, it was him. It was Chris, and then there was another guy called Kelly. He's going to kill me because I've forgotten his name, but James Kelly, and he was like a little Torquay shredder, and he was like just utter on a bike, and they just get to the age and chase other things because it's pretty hard to do, and like those guys are. Then I could have Trev's perfect, like Trev's a perfect guy, and you see that where like we've got a slew of so many people who won junior worlds and chase money, like not money, but they just go where life takes them, and it's not a bike, like, and they're still riding, and some of them are still riding moto, and they're still connected, but like they're not, would they have taken it any further? I don't know. I think I'm more bummed on the dudes who are up and coming and they have a really big slam and can't compete. That I think is like, because you either got it, like you look at the pro guys' mindset, and like there's definitely some like big like stuff going with the way they talk about what they can achieve, and if they really believe it and manifest it, they do it, and they're on the World Cup circuit. And the other guys who get hurt and plagued by injuries, and like Trev was always plagued by injuries, and he's. Those guys, that's who my heart breaks for. Like, I reckon they're the guys who got ripped off. And I've got a good friend he put it all on the line. He did 2 seasons, or he had 1 season of EWS as a privateer, and he got, 100th or whatever it was, or like did a few races and kind of, was pretty good, like beat a few dudes and other guys on full factory deals. And then, he went, all right, I'm going to do this properly, and got a coach, and the coach was like the Norco factory team's coach. He's out of Canada. He's paid big money for that.
Yeah.
Dedicated, like moved to Mount Beauty, went to his first EWS, popped up a 50th. Like previously he was doing like 100th, and now he's like came back in the 50th. And the next race was Chile. And he, I think he broke his back. Like the footage of him breaking his back is ridiculous. And, that stopped. That put everything on hold. He could have definitely mixed it up and gone somewhere with it. That sucks. So.
Yeah, that's scary to watch. I think that's the same with like Henry Blake. Like he was ending on it, and then.
Yeah, he had a massive crash, didn't he?
I don't think it was massive, but I think I can't remember. I know he broke his neck or something, and I believe he did it using a tree. But I don't think it was like massive. It just happened. It was just a freak accident. And dude, like you don't want to do that. Like I get it, 100%. I don't want to break my neck.
No.
Yeah,
Not
and
all the time.
then I guess the other thing you mentioned is it's expensive. Like our support for juniors to go overseas, and because we're in Ireland, it's just not financially viable. Like it's so expensive.
But I think it was different. Like there was cycling. Like I don't know. Like I still remember years ago. It was like the crew when it was like Emil and Tom Patton and all these old, like the old original team, and like the Cycling Australia or whoever the body was would take them over, do a few Norbers, do a couple of World Cups, and then they'd do the World Champs. Like, and that those guys who made it then like kind of stuck around a bit longer, and now the opportunities and everything's not as everything's more financial, more of a financial hamstring to the rider now, but they're not getting those opportunities and they've got to fund their own way a little bit. So,
and they've got to plan and do everything else themselves. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not fully up on it. This is what I've seen from the outside. I do have the opportunity to learn more. No, I just haven't taken that. But yeah,
it's still great to see Australians doing their own thing over in Europe. Like the Zwa boys, like they're riding for Sweden or something now, and you know they're doing what they want to do, and you've got like they're on the union team and they've brought over a couple of like I think a Victorian kid and the Smith boys were over there. Like there's people doing it. If you want to do it and make your own way and you're good enough, you'll get there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, there's Zwa boys. If you sick episode on this podcast. But they
or if you're an average Daniel, I'll be a racer. I'll be a mechanic. You can't be a racer, be a mechanic. You'll get there.
Oh, yeah. Don't think that's easy, though. But, yeah, like the Zwa brothers, they just made their own team. And they just did it themselves. Like there's this drive that they have, and I admire them. It is really cool. It's not as if they've just born and hopped on a bike and got fast and now earning the illustrious million Bitcoin that the internet thinks they are. Cool. Cool. We'll start wrapping things up. Go to the last kind of few questions. One thing I like to ask everyone at the end, what advice would you give to someone, especially maybe like a shop rat or someone that's just in the industry or just starting out, wants to get into it, but wants to take that next step and become a bigger part of the industry? Do you have any kind of advice for someone like that?
Yeah, it's take your time. Everything's learning. I'm still learning. Like there's things that I don't know that I've still got to pick up. So don't have that, I want to be doing everything now. Learn the core stuff. Like I've got builders who can't even tune gears and they want to move across to servicing. And it's like, you're not there yet. And you try and tell them that they're not there yet and they don't want to listen to it. Take your time with it, learn the base, and then you'll progress. And that's it. That's probably the most important thing. Bikes are tricky. Like you'll forget more than you have in your mind. Like the stuff that comes in and out of fads. Like I would hate to start being on the tools now because like there's so much stuff that's still in circulation that just doesn't get made anymore, but you need to know how to fix it. So everything is learning. Rapid rise. I had a kid stripping out cranks because they don't know how to take out an off-the-link bottom bracket. It's like, So then you got to show them how to angle grind stuff off. It's awesome. The biggest thing, probably advice for like anybody that wants to come through the industry, and it's probably also like racing as well, is just be authentic and be yourself. The industry is really, really small. Like there's people, you don't know who I am, but I know who their reputation is like, and where the guys kind of help deciding if they get a pro deal or not, or want to discount through a shop. We're just like, nah, don't do it if they've got a bit of a bad rep. So the industry's small. I always treated myself as like, even though I was a mechanic and working a thing, like, and I worked for other people, like I was a brand. Like if you're hiring me, you know what skill set I'm bringing and you know how I do a job. And so you treat yourself as a brand, and then that will build demand. And if you have like, if you treat yourself as like Phil Wood, the bike person, like, and what that brings behind you, like that's the most important thing, because you can't undo that. You can never undo that. And like that's the most important thing, is you never know. Because I never, mate, 10 years ago, I never thought I'd be working for an e-bike company. And, you know, as a kid, like, never thought I'd be working for some of the big brands that have been around. And yeah, you see people who have ridden for companies and, you know, they spit the dummy and they be an absolute arse. They could be the best racer in the world. And I can tell you some of them who don't have a sponsorship because of it. And so treat yourself as a brand.
Yeah.
And make
100%.
everything that you do like the right decision to secure your future. Sometimes you've got to eat humble pie, but just do it because it's going to get you places where you need to be.
Yeah, it's a tough lesson to learn. I've definitely learned that over my years, and
yeah. Well, we all make mistakes. Like we all make mistakes, not just on the tools, but even in our career, and it's how you handle them and turn it around. But have fun too. Like,
oh, dude, yeah, 100%.
Like, this is a fun industry.
Yeah, it's, at the end of the day, it's just bikes.
It's just bikes.
Yeah, 2 wheels, frame, fun. Do you regret anything, or is there anything you would have changed over the last 20 years or so in the industry? Is there anything we should have done differently, or?
I don't know. To know where I'm at now, and like it's been tough. Like there's definitely days this is work, and I did at one stage try getting out. I was like, I've done enough. I want to go. This doesn't feel like a real job. I'm going to go do a high school teacher and then come back to bikes and have that kind of love for it and passion. Like I've had sleepless nights, tears, you know, a lot of anger, a lot of rage. And I don't think I'd change anything. I think if anything, I used to care a lot what people thought of me. And like I always had to have the flashiest bikes and stuff like that. I think the biggest thing, and I think you have to learn it. So I wouldn't tell anybody not to do it. Like I helped out people that has totally ruined some things in my life and like limited some opportunities and caused a lot of tension. And I don't say I regret doing that because I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. And like, that's the other thing. And like I've worked for some places that was pretty shit, but they might have been a shit boss or a shit company or something like that. But I haven't mentioned them in this interview, don't worry. Because I'll never know. But even if they're a terrible boss, I've learned something from them. So everything is learning. Like I now know what to do if I own a bike shop. I know what to look out for. So no, I don't think I'd change anything. I think I'd just be a little bit more aware of my decisions.
100%. Yeah. You can learn a lot from other people's mistakes.
And also another thing to do is like if you're working for people, you've got to learn to bite your tongue a lot and take out frustration. Hey, like at work, I'm just got to be super nice, and I hang up the phone and then I'm belting the table. Go, fuck those guys!
Like,
So I'm pretty, and then the phone will ring, and I'm like just wanting to like, hello, like you just got to turn it off and on. So that's a good thing you learn as a mechanic is you just got to be you're on show all the time. So.
I've broken a couple of phones after a couple of phone calls with a few people, and you just get over it, throw it away, and kind of breather. But
and that's not, and you've got to suck it up because bad Google reviews worth a lot of money these days.
Oh, good luck.
Currency.
Good luck getting a bad review offline. Sweet. Last question, always the hardest for some people. When you're having a shit day or you're lacking motivation or you need to get something done, you need to zone in, is there any music? What do you kind of listen to get motivated or hone in on something?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a big music guy, so that's a good one. I like working to a cadence, I guess, and like an album that I listen to a lot when I need stuff to do. Like I know like the album goes for a certain amount of time and I need to get a job done to a task, and I can do to that. And I've had a couple of times where I've had to do frame build overs and things, and I've been on the clock and needed to get stuff done real quick. Headphones or stuff goes in, I prefer to do that instead of having it on a stereo. There's an album by a band called Brand New.
Okay.
It's kind of like punky kind of alternative hard. I don't know. It's a bit of a mix. It's a real, like, they were pretty hardcore-ish, well, pretty emo back in the day, but they've kind of gone a bit experimental.
Like every other emo band.
Yeah, exactly. They've got one album that I listen to pretty much. That's a repeat. I have gone in deep into the early 2000s, late 90s hip hop sort of stuff. When I'm in my shed fixing bikes, the neighbours do hear a lot of I do have Wu-Tang Wednesdays going a fair bit.
Good.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty eclectic. Hey, like, definitely punk sort of stuff is what I do. But when I go riding, it's hip hoppy sort of metal, even punk sort of stuff, like hardcore things. Yeah. And then when I'm working, it's a lot more kind of melodic.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of lose yourself into it a little bit, but generally around that, I don't know.
Yeah, I found working on bikes and metal is just enhances the frustration sometimes. So
when you're on a deadline, like Parkway Drive comes out a fair bit. But
that'll get it done. But the rest
that definitely gets it done, and it definitely gets some hammers thrown across the workshop when you're feeling it. So it's music definitely amplifies it. Hey, this might sound really, really lame, like, because I'm a fan of cycling and like I love all, like, growing up was always the videos, like on Spotify, like there's mountain bike movie playlists. It's sick to ride with because like you feel you're in the video. Yeah. And it sounds cliche, but fuck, I love that soundtrack. It's really good. So because I ride and I've been in a trailer, I remember that guy hitting something, I'm like, I'm going half the speed, but I feel twice as good. So.
Like the Earth soundtracks and everything that's on there. Like whoever did those deserves a lot of money because they are the best.
Yeah, totally.
Sick. Easy, man. Well, thanks so much for coming on. It was
thanks for having me. I hope I haven't scared anybody off the behind the scenes of the bike industry, and don't do shit stuff on social media because it might cost you a deal later on down the track. So, but it's been it's good. I recommend anybody getting into the bike industry. It is tough, and some days I go, you shouldn't have done it, but at the end of the day, I love it, and you meet some amazing people, and it's worth doing.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. Good advice. Good message. Yeah. Again, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me. Good talks. Take care.
There we go. That was a long one. I hope you learned a lot from Phil. He is really receptive to all feedback on Instagram. He's a good account to follow. Hit him up if you've got any questions. And he's a really, really good bloke to chat to. Tons of insight. And I hope you guys grab something from this, especially if you're someone that, has realised maybe they won't make it as a pro rider, but still wants to be a part of the industry. Phil has all the insight. So really, really cool to chat with him. Again, thanks to our sponsors from Canyon, NSDynamics, 2Up Bikeco, FE Sports, Franked, Dirt Servo Crush, and Fist. God damn, that thing is getting long. Thanks so much, guys, for getting that support. 2 years ago, I didn't even think I would be here. But also, thank you to the listeners. You guys have been spreading the word. This podcast is growing at a rapid rate, and I thank you all for that. We have some big plans coming up, particularly around Medina. I'll keep it under wraps for now, but I am hoping that Frenchie and I can work something out, and we're going to have some big guests from down there, and hopefully a trip's in the plan. If you want to listen and see more of that stuff, make sure you subscribe on YouTube. If your mates are bored and they're not living their best life, share it around. Let them know about this podcast, and I'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave any reviews or give me some feedback, because if I'm doing shit, I want to know. Thanks everyone for their continued support, and can't wait to see you on the next one.